It was just another Thursday morning in New York City, the kind that blurs into all the others. Cars honking, people rushing, and the city pretending not to notice anyone's pain. But for Claire Bennett, this Thursday was different. She woke up late again, for the third time this week, in a small studio apartment above a noisy deli. The night before, she'd been up until 3 a.m., trying to finish another freelance project, one that might not even get paid for on time. She used to have a real job, a marketing executive, a corner office, coffee that didn't taste like burnt regret. But after her company downsized, she was laid off, and life had been a slow downward slide ever since. Claire had always been strong, independent, the kind of woman who believed she didn't need help from anyone. But lately, even the strong parts of her felt like they were cracking. She threw on a coat, skipped breakfast, and ran for the subway. Rain tapped against the streets like a quiet warning, the kind of soft drizzle that seeps into your bones. The train was late. Of course it was. She sighed and sat on the cold metal bench, scrolling through her phone, pretending not to think about the overdue rent. The unpaid bills or the text from her landlord, need the payment by Monday or ILL, have to list the place. That is when she noticed an old man standing a few feet away, probably in his 70s, soaked to the skin, holding a paper bag that was starting to tear apart. He was struggling to keep it together, but the bag finally gave way. Its contents spilled across the platform: oranges, a small loaf of bread, and some old photographs wrapped in plastic. People watched but didn't move. Claire hesitated. She had her own problems. She was late, broke, exhausted. But something in her couldn't ignore it. She bent down and started picking up the oranges. "Here, let me help you." The old man smiled faintly. "Thank you, dear. You don't have to." "I know," she said softly. "But I want to." He chuckled, a warm sound that somehow cut through the cold morning air. They picked everything up together. As she handed him the last orange, he looked at her and said, "You look like someone who carries too much on her shoulders." Claire blinked. "Oh, you could say that?" He nodded slowly. "When my wife was alive, she used to say, 'You can't pour from an empty cup. Sometimes you've got to let others pour into yours.'" She smiled politely, unsure how to respond. Before she could say anything else, the train arrived. She turned to say goodbye, but the old man was gone. She looked around, confused. How could he just vanish like that? As she sat down on the train, she noticed a small folded napkin in her coat pocket. In delicate cursive, it read, "Help finds those who stop pretending they don't need it." That afternoon, Claire went to a job interview. It didn't go well. "Your experience is strong," the interviewer said, "but we're looking for someone with more recent corporate exposure." She walked out into the rain again, her umbrella flipping inside out. Typical. She ducked into a small diner to escape the storm. She ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, a cup of soup, and sat by the window. That's when she noticed a young mother at the next table, trying to calm her crying baby while counting crumpled dollar bills. The woman's eyes were tired, her hands shaking. Claire hesitated. She had maybe $20 left to last her till Monday. But something about that mother's face reminded her too much of herself. Without thinking too hard, she called the waitress over and said quietly, "Add her meal to my bill."
Oh.
"Don't tell her who paid." The waitress smiled and nodded. As Claire sipped her soup, she heard the young woman's gasp of surprise. "Wait, someone paid for this?" The waitress just smiled. "Guess it's your lucky day." The mother looked around the diner, eyes shining. "Thank you," she whispered to no one in particular. Claire smiled softly, looking down at her soup. It wasn't much, but it felt like something. Later that evening, as Claire walked home, she noticed a commotion near the subway stairs. A man had collapsed, and people were panicking. Claire rushed forward, kneeling beside him. She didn't know CPR, but she called 911 and stayed by his side, holding his hand until the paramedics arrived. "You're going to be okay," she told him, her voice calm.
"Help's coming. Just breathe."
When the ambulance took him away, one of the paramedics thanked her. "You did good staying with him. Sometimes just knowing someone cares makes all the difference." As she stood up, the napkin from the old man slipped from her pocket. The words looked almost brighter now. "Help finds those who stop pretending they dainty need it." The next day she got a call she wasn't expecting. "Ms. Bennett, this is Dr. Evans. You helped one of my patients yesterday, yes?" she said. "Is he okay?" "He's recovering," the doctor said. "He wanted to thank you personally. He said you reminded him of his daughter." Dr. Evans continued. Also, funny coincidence, our hospital's community outreach department is looking for a communications specialist. Mentioned your kindness, and I'd love to interview you for the role if you're interested. Claire froze. Wait, what? What? He laughed softly. I know it sounds random, but sometimes good things find good people. Claire smiled, wide and genuine for the first time in months. Yes, I'd love that. A week later, she started her new job at St. Mark's Medical Center, handling communications for mental health and community wellness programs. It wasn't a corporate office, but it felt like something better purpose. One afternoon, as she walked through the hospital garden, she saw an elderly volunteer setting up a table of free snacks. Her heart stopped. It was him, the old man from the subway. He looked up and smiled like he'd been expecting her. You, she said, half laughing, half crying. I thought you were gone. He chuckled.
Not yet.
She shook her head, speechless. That note you left, it changed everything. He nodded. I figured it might. Sometimes we don't find help. We become it. It's how it finds its way back. She hugged him, tears in her eyes. Thank you. He patted her shoulder gently. You did all the work. I just reminded you you're not alone. When she pulled back, he was gone again. Only a single orange sitting on the garden bench. She picked it up and smiled. Months passed. Claire's life bloomed. Her work helped people who had lost hope. One day, she organized a kindness campaign called Right Time. Right Help. Stories poured in from across the city. Strangers helping strangers. Claire became known as the kindness girl, though she just laughed, because she knew she wasn't the one who started it. She was just continuing something passed down by a stranger on a rainy morning. One evening, as she locked up her office, she saw a young woman sitting alone in the waiting room, crying quietly. Claire walked over. Hey, she said softly, you okay? The girl looked up, eyes red. My dad's in surgery. I don't know what to do. Claire sat beside her. You don't have to do anything right now. Just breathe. She handed the girl a cup of coffee. The girl managed a small smile. Thank you. You didn't have to. Claire smiled back. I know, but I wanted to. As they sat there, the girl whispered, It's crazy. You found me right when I needed help. Claire smiled gently. Yeah, that's usually how it happens. Later that night, she walked home. Claire felt the familiar weight of the napkin in her coat pocket. She unfolded it one more time, reading the faded words she'd memorized. Help finds those who stop pretending they don't need it. She smiled, tucked it back inside, and whispered into the cool night air, Thank you for finding me. And somewhere, maybe in another corner of that vast city, an old man in a red scarf smiled too, proud, knowing that kindness had once again found its way home. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content that celebrates the good in the world. Thank you for watching.